I think almost everyone experiences this at some point. It's incredibly frustrating. You look around, you see you're functional, right? You're handling things, paying the bills, going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
But inside, it feels like absolutely nothing is moving forward. You're just stuck.
Yeah, stationary.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing we do? We beat ourselves up. We jump straight to these awful labels.
Oh, absolutely. I'm lazy. I just don't have the discipline. Or worse, there must be something fundamentally wrong with me. I'm just broken.
Exactly. Those narratives kick in so fast.
And they're not just unhelpful, they're actively misleading, aren't they? They send us looking for the problem in completely the wrong place. What you're describing, this kind of functional stillness, maybe we can call it a silent pause.
A silent pause, okay.
Yeah, it's a stillness that doesn't announce itself. It's not dramatic. There's no big emotional breakdown. It's not confrontational. It's just an absence of movement.
Yeah. But the tricky part, the really insidious part, is that it often looks like something else. It can masquerade as, maturity or maybe peace or just responsible resting. So we don't question it. It's not screaming for attention.
That metaphor you used before really struck me, thinking about your life like a movie that's suddenly frozen.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't freeze during the car chase or the big reveal. It freezes on something totally mundane, ordinary.
Yes, that's the key.
Like that project folder sitting open on your computer desktop for weeks, untouched, or, that email you typed out. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It just sits there in drafts. You don't send it.
Exactly, that moment of suspension.
So
It's no drama, just stillness.
Right.
And so our mission today in this deep dive is really to get past that surface level diagnosis, the lack of motivation thing.
Yeah, forget motivation for a second.
Let's look underneath. Let's explore the invisible architecture holding that stillness in place. Because this pause, this feeling of being stuck, it's not some random failure. It's actually a structure. It's something your own mind, your perceptual system has built deliberately.
Wow, okay.
Deliberately. And it operates according to very specific psychological principles, laws almost. We need to uncover those.
So we're shifting the whole perspective here. It's not about willpower. It's not a moral failing. It's about perception, a structural thing in how we're actually organizing our reality.
Precisely. Think of it as an issue of psychological engineering, not moral fiber. And as we dig into this using the lens of Gestalt psychology primarily,
Okay.
we'll start to see some fascinating things, like why that inner voice saying, I should do this or I should start that, why it almost never works. It just creates this kind of background noise, this fatigue.
Right, the shoulds are exhausting.
Totally exhausting. And we'll reframe this whole idea of stagnation. What if it's not a failure at all? What if, in a strange way, it's actually a success? A structural success designed to, believe it or not, protect you.
Protect you. That sounds counterintuitive. Stuckness as protection.
It does, doesn't it? But we'll explore that. And maybe most importantly, we'll see how real movement, that feeling of getting unstuck, it doesn't start with some grand motivational push or a detailed 5-year plan.
No.
No. It starts much quieter. It starts with a very specific, very precise shift in where you place your attention.
Okay, let's really spend some time unpacking this specific state, this silent pause, because, like you said, its power lies in how subtle it is, how it hides.
Exactly. We all recognize the big, loud pauses, right? The clinical breakdown, the diagnosed depression where you literally can't get out of bed, or that total burnout where your body just says, nope, done.
Yeah, those are undeniable. They demand attention, often external help. They have labels.
Yeah. Right. But the silent pause, it's sneaky. It lacks those clear external signs. It's what we could call functional suspension.
Functional suspension. I like that.
You're doing the things, you're showing up, you're interacting, breathing, paying taxes, but inside,
Yeah.
there's no real forward movement on an existential level.
It feels like coasting, but not in a good way.
Or maybe it's like the quiet, long-term letting go of a dream, an ambition that used to really fire you up.
Well,
You used to talk about it all the time, right,
Yeah.
with excitement. And now if someone asks, you just politely steer the conversation elsewhere.
that hits home. Or that constant refrain of, I'll start again next Monday. And next Monday becomes the Monday after that and the one after that.
Yes, that cycle. Or just this general feeling of absence, an absence of tension, maybe. But we mistake that lack of tension for peace or maturity.
And because there's no acute pain, no 5-alarm fire going off inside, the mind just sort of assumes everything's okay, fine. Tolerable.
Tolerable is a dangerous word here, isn't it? Because tolerable allows the pause to persist indefinitely. And this is exactly where we need a different framework to understand why it feels so flat. This is where Gestalt psychology gives us a powerful lens.
Okay, so how does Gestalt help us see this structure?
Well, think about your entire reality, everything you sense, feel, think, perceive, not as just a jumble of stuff, but as a dynamic field, a perceptual field.
Like an energy field.
Sort of, yeah. It's the field of your lived experience. And this field isn't static, it's constantly organizing itself. Your attention, naturally, without you even trying, flows towards contrast. It looks for edges, for definition, for things that stand out.
Like if you walk into a room, your eyes might immediately go to the brightest light or the loudest sound or
Yeah.
the one red book on a shelf of blue ones.
Exactly. That's your attention finding contrast. In this perceptual field, whatever grabs your attention, whatever feels incomplete or demands some kind of response or closure, that thing rises up. It becomes what Gestalt calls the figure.
The figure. Okay, so like a sudden headache is definitely a figure.
Absolutely. Or an urgent work deadline. That's a figure. Even an unanswered question nagging at you or an incomplete task. Those are figures. They demand your focus, your energy.
And everything else. The temperature of the room, the feeling of the chair I'm sitting on, my background thoughts, memories.
That all recedes. It becomes the background or the ground. It's the context, the setting, the stuff that's there but not demanding immediate attention.
So the figure is the urgent thing. The thing pulling my psychological energy towards resolving it, completing it. If I have a strong figure, I'm motivated to act, to move towards closure.
Precisely. That's the engine of movement. Now, connect this back to stagnation, to that silent pause. The common assumption is I lack motivation. But from a Gestalt perspective, the structural reason you're not moving is often because the field itself has gone, well, flat. Meaning, there's no sharp contrast. There are no clear edges. There's no figure rising up, grabbing your attention, urgently demanding closure. The whole landscape has sort of settled into this uniform, low contrast gray.
But wait a second. If the field is flat, does that mean all my figures are resolved? All my needs are met? Doesn't that sound like peace or contentment? Why is that a problem? Maybe I'm just resting.
That is the absolute crucial question and why this state is so deceptive. It looks like peace on the surface, but true psychological movement, that sense of vitality and growth, it actually requires a certain amount of, well, tension.
The tension. We usually think of tension as bad.
Right, but here tension means incompleteness. It means a gestalt, an experience, is seeking closure. When a figure emerges, it creates tension, the tension of needing to address it. When you successfully address it, the gestalt completes, the tension dissolves, and the energy is released. That feels good. That feels like flow. If you are truly just resting, figures will naturally start to emerge again as your energy replenishes. You'll get hungry, you'll get curious, you'll feel an impulse. But in the silent pause, it's different. The tension hasn't actually dissolved. It's been suppressed, buried, pushed down into the ground.
Okay, so the flatness isn't genuine peace, it's enforced neutrality. The tension is still there, somewhere, but it's trapped underground, so to speak.
Exactly. It's like you've smoothed over the landscape so thoroughly that nothing can break through the surface. So, the core insight here is, the problem isn't a lack of fuel in the motivation engine. The problem is that the landscape itself has lost its contours.
Or the contours are buried under layers and layers of, it's fine, doesn't matter, I'll deal with it later.
Precisely. Your needs, your desires, your half-formed ideas, if they're consistently denied, minimized, interrupted, that essential tension collapses. The field becomes structurally polite, neutral, maybe even numb, and in that state, movement just stops.
And that's why external pushes like reading another self-help book or someone yelling, just do it, don't work.
They can't. They're trying to artificially create a figure on a field that is structurally organized to resist tension, to resist emergence. It's like trying to build a sandcastle on shifting sand. The foundation isn't there.
Okay, this idea of buried tension, of energy being trapped in the ground, it leads directly to how we handle, or maybe mishandle, unfinished business, doesn't it?
It really does. That's probably the most common way we build these stagnant structures.
And we even get praised for it sometimes. You know, oh, you're so strong for letting go of that painful breakup or that job that didn't work out or that embarrassing moment. We tell ourselves, I've moved on.
Right. Letting go sounds so healthy, so evolved. But often, let's be honest, it's not really completion. It's surrender. It's avoidance wearing a socially acceptable mask.
Yeah.
Just deciding not to feel it anymore. It's a way of saying, okay, That experience was too much, too painful. I didn't have the resources or the courage or the support to actually face it and see it through to its natural end. So instead, we minimize it. We pretend it didn't matter as much as it did. We cut it off midstream to silence that internal demand for closure.
And the critical question then becomes, where does all that interrupted energy actually go? If I choke back tears or swallow down rage, or just refuse to acknowledge a deep sense of disappointment or loss, that energy, that feeling, it has to go somewhere, right? It doesn't just poof, vanish.
It absolutely does not vanish. That's a core principle in Gestalt. Every experience carries energy. Every feeling, every impulse, every unspoken word, every ungrieved goodbye, every risk not taken, they all have an energetic charge.
All right.
If that experience, that Gestalt, gets interrupted before it can reach its natural conclusion, before the energy can discharge, the energy doesn't just dissipate. It does something else. It crystallizes.
Crystallizes. You said that before, like it turns solid.
Almost, yeah. It forms a kind of rigid internal structure. It becomes a silent, fixed shape within your perceptual field. Let's call this the silent Gestalt.
The silent or cell. Wow. That's a really powerful image. It's like an invisible monument to unfinished business sitting inside you.
Or think of it like emotional scar tissue, maybe. But scar tissue that's still holding the original tension of the wound. It's not inert. It's a pocket of frozen energy.
Okay, like a psychic cyst or something, holding trapped potential.
Exactly. And when you start accumulating too many of these silent shapes, too many interrupted experiences, too many open loops that you've filed away under don't go there, or too painful, or just irrelevant, then the field itself, your whole inner landscape, starts to feel heavy, dense, structurally congested. It gets filled up, paradoxically, not with lively activity, but with this accumulated silence, this frozen history.
So the fullness isn't productive energy, it's blockage.
Precisely. And that internal density, that structural preoccupation with holding these old shapes still, it prevents anything new from easily emerging. Any new figure, a fresh idea, a genuine desire, a spark of excitement, it struggles to find space, to get traction, because the field is already occupied by these silent, demanding ghosts of the past.
That really explains that feeling of profound heaviness, doesn't it? Even when you're objectively not doing much, you feel weighed down. You feel heavy because your internal space is just clogged with unreleased potential and frozen history.
You're carrying the weight of everything you didn't allow yourself to fully experience. Let's make this really concrete with that example we discussed, the man at the lake. It illustrates this mechanism so clearly.
Right, the man who wants to swim.
Yes. Imagine him. He walks up to this beautiful lake. The sun is shining. The water looks inviting, maybe warm. He's perfectly healthy. He knows how to swim. He's even wearing a swimsuit. He intends to get in.
Okay, all systems go, seemingly.
But he just stops, stands there at the edge, staring at the water, maybe for minutes, maybe longer. He doesn't move towards it.
And if you ask him why,
he genuinely doesn't know. He might say, I don't know why I want to swim. I can't seem to make myself get in. There's no obvious logical reason, no sudden fear of cold, no injury, just paralysis.
And his very inability to name the reason that I don't know, that's the signature of the silent Gestalt at work.
That's the hallmark. The block isn't conscious, it's not rational, it's perceptual. It's an invisible wall built by history. Somewhere deep in his past, buried in the ground of his experience, is an old, unresolved, silent Gestalt related to water, or maybe thresholds or vulnerability.
Like what? What could it be?
Maybe he witnessed a scary incident as a child, a near drowning. Or perhaps he was deeply shamed during swimming lessons. Or maybe water somehow became associated with the profound loss or disappointment that he never fully grieved, never fully processed. He interrupted the experience, cut off the fear, swallowed the shame, buried the grief.
He didn't complete it.
He didn't complete it. So that frozen energy, that crystallized fear or shame or sadness, it's still there, held silently within his field. So now, whenever he approaches a similar threshold, the edge of the water symbolizing, perhaps, any act of moving forward, taking a plunge, being vulnerable, that old, silent energy gets reactivated. But crucially, it doesn't rise up as a clear memory like, oh, I remember that time I almost drowned.
No. How does it rise?
It rises as structure, as a felt sense in his body, an invisible force field pushing him back. It's become so integrated into his way of being, his ground, that he can't see it as separate. He just feels its effect. The pause, the stillness, the blockage.
Right.
That honest, bewildered, I don't know why, is the sound of someone bumping up against their own invisible, self-created architecture. He's living inside the shape of an unfinished past, and that frozen energy is now successfully doing its job, holding him still, keeping the old status quo, preventing him from crossing the threshold. Okay, so let's dig even deeper now, moving into sort of the next layer of this analysis. Let's really focus on the architecture of this field. We've established it's not just a nice metaphor, right?
Right. It's the actual structure of our lived reality.
Yeah.
My body tension, the thoughts bubbling up, my breathing, it's all part of this field. And the silence, the pause, is the field organizing itself in a particular way.
Exactly. And when we talk about figure and ground, these aren't just concepts, they are structures of attention. The figure is sharp, it's demanding, it's in focus. The ground is, well, we often think of it as just passive background stuff, don't we?
Yeah, like the wallpaper.
Yeah.
Memory, habits, history,
Yeah.
just the context, not active.
But that's where we misunderstand it. The ground is anything but passive. The ground has this incredibly powerful, nonverbal, non-cognitive memory. Think about all the times we interrupt a natural impulse.
Like what?
Like swallowing that sharp comeback you really wanted to say, or forcing a smile when you feel deep sadness, or telling yourself, nope, gotta be positive, gotta be productive, when your body is screaming for rest.
Okay, yeah. Those moments of self-interruption.
Those moments, the energy of that interrupted impulse, it doesn't just vanish, it sinks. It gets absorbed, consolidated, woven into the fabric of the ground. And that ground, it doesn't forget. And it doesn't heal passively over time.
It just holds it, waits.
It waits, it holds that pattern. And then later, often when the field is relatively still, when you're not actively focused on something else, that pattern, that trace of the interruption, it doesn't necessarily rise up as a clear narrative memory, like, oh, I remember that time I didn't speak up.
How does it rise then?
It rises as structure, as a subtle influence on how you perceive and react to the present. It shapes your field now.
Can you give an example of that, a sort of everyday structural trace?
Sure. Let's think about someone who consistently procrastinates on answering emails. Even simple ones, not just the difficult ones. They just build up.
Okay, yeah, I know people like that. Maybe I have people like that sometimes.
Right. And the conscious thought is usually, ugh, I'm just lazy, or I'm disorganized. But if we look through the Gestalt lens, we might ask, what's in the ground? Perhaps years ago, maybe even just once. They sent an important email, maybe something vulnerable, maybe a job application, maybe a difficult conversation, and it led to a really painful outcome.
Like public criticism or rejection or a misunderstanding that blew up.
Exactly. Some kind of negative consequence, maybe involving shame or exposure. And that experience, that gestalt of sending email leads to pain, was interrupted. They never fully processed the shame, the disappointment, the shock. It just got buried. It sank into the ground.
Okay.
So now, years later, the simple act of hitting send on any email, even a totally benign one asking, what time is the meeting? It unconsciously reactivates that silent, buried structure. That structure whispers or maybe shouts silently from the ground. Danger, exposure, potential pain. Stop.
Wow. So the past humiliation is literally structuring their present hesitation. It's become an invisible rule, sending equals threat.
Precisely. The history, held in the ground, is now louder, more dominant than the actual requirement of the present moment. This is what we mean by ground dominance. And this directly explains the stagnation paradox, why pure willpower so often fails.
Because when I'm telling myself I should answer those emails or I should start that project, I'm trying to use my conscious mind, my shoulds.
To fight against a deeply embedded, unconscious, structural pattern held in the ground. That should isn't an authentic figure rising organically from your needs or desires. It's just cognitive noise. It's mental effort pushing against a hidden wall.
And that's exhausting. It drains energy without producing real movement. I'm trying to manually override a fundamental law of my own perceptual system.
You got it. For real, sustainable movement to happen, a genuine figure needs to emerge. Organically, sensorially. It needs to grab you, maybe make your heart beat faster, make your hands itch to start, create that feeling of urgent need or compelling desire.
But it can't emerge if the ground is dominant.
Often it struggles to, because the body, sensing the underlying threat held in those silent gestalts, is actually leaning back. It's pulling away, subtly resisting forward motion. It's in a state of self-preservation. All its available energy is being used unconsciously to maintain the structural integrity of those frozen moments, those unexpressed desires, those buried fears. You're spending energy holding the past still.
Okay, this is the big shift then. If my system is structurally congested, if it's actively leaning back to hold things in place, then my stagnation, my feeling stuck, It's not a random glitch. It's not a failure of my character.
It is, in fact, a profound and highly functional success of structure. It's a system working exactly as it was designed, or rather, as it learned to operate specifically to protect you.
Protect me. How does being stuck protect me?
Your field, your whole psychophysical system is holding you still because, on some deep, nonverbal level, it knows. It anticipates the sheer magnitude of the energy, the tidal wave, you might call it, that would be unleashed if you were suddenly forced to confront all that unfinished business head-on.
That sounds overwhelming.
It is. Think about it. What energy is held in those silent gestalts? It could be days, weeks of unprocessed grief, years of suppressed anger or resentment. The terrifying clarity that would demand a complete overhaul of your identity, your relationships, your career path, if you finally acknowledged what you truly need or feel.
Like realizing the job you tolerate is actually soul-crushing and you have to leave, even without a safety net. Or admitting a relationship is fundamentally broken.
Exactly. That level of psychic rearrangement feels threatening. It feels like chaos. So the stillness, the pause, the stagnation, it acts as a buffer, a containment field. It's successfully holding you back from that overwhelming flood of feeling and change.
So it's like an incubation period, a temporary holding pattern.
Yes. Think of it as incubation, not destination. It's a temporary operating system designed for protection, for containment, until maybe, just maybe, you develop the capacity or the support to handle what's waiting in the ground. We have to start judging the pause as a defect or a punishment. It's often a testament to the system's intelligence in preserving itself.
Wow. Okay, framing it as protection, as a successful structure, that completely changes the kind of philosophical weight of being stuck, doesn't it?
It really does.
It directly challenges that relentless modern pressure to always be moving forward, always achieving, always growing. It makes you ask, what if I'm supposed to be still right now? What if I'm not moving because actually I'm not done being still? There's work happening in the stillness.
That's the deeper, more existential layer of truth, isn't it? The field, which is really just a reflection of our whole self, body, mind history, it doesn't actually demand constant progress, constant vertical ascent. What it demands, fundamentally, is integration.
Integration to what?
Integration of experience. If your structure, your ground is full of unfinished business, unresolved experiences, then pausing isn't just an option. It's structurally necessary. The system needs time and space to metabolize that history.
That makes me think of nature, like how things work in the natural world.
Exactly. The tree analogy is perfect here. Think about a tree. When a tree stops its visible upward growth, maybe during winter or a drought, it doesn't mean it's dying or failing. It means it's redirecting its energy. Where does it go?
Downward, into the roots.
Into the roots. Silent work, hidden work, absolutely essential work for stability and for future height. Your pause, that silent stillness, it's very often your rooting time.
So if I try to force upward growth, force movement, before that integration, that rooting happens.
You're likely just setting yourself up for repetition. You'll find yourself playing out the same core wound, the same pattern of relating or avoiding, just in a new context. New job, same problem. New relationship, same dynamic. New city, same feeling of being stuck.
It's the same wound in different clothes.
Beautifully put. The field, your own wisdom, holds you still precisely to metabolize what came before, to integrate it so that the next movement isn't just repetition, but something genuinely new, structurally sound.
Okay, so this changes the goal then. Completion isn't about achieving closure in that neat, tie it up with a bow and put it on a shelf kind of way. It's not about getting over it.
No, not really. That often implies cutting off or dismissing the experience. True completion, from this perspective, is more like a transformation of energy.
Transformation? How?
That unfinished gestalt, that pocket of frozen energy, when you finally allow it to come into full awareness, when you need it, it doesn't just vanish. It's energy which was locked up, crystallized, gets released, it transmutes, it becomes available, flowing life energy again.
Energy for what?
Energy for living, energy to pick up the phone without dread, energy to write that email without procrastinating, energy to feel genuine enthusiasm, energy to take the next natural step without having to force yourself with shoulds. But, and this is the key, we cannot transmute what we refuse to witness.
Ah, okay. So if pushing harder fails and analyzing it into the ground doesn't work, what is the path forward? What's the action or non-action that actually initiates this transmutation, this release of energy?
It's something quite radical, actually, given our usual habits. It's the simple, profound act of witnessing.
Just watching.
Watching, yes, but more than just intellectual observation. It's allowing yourself to feel. These silent structures, these frozen gestalts, they don't need to be fixed like a broken machine. They don't need to be psychoanalyzed into oblivion. They don't even necessarily need to be understood intellectually. What they need fundamentally is to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be felt.
So real insight isn't necessarily a brilliant aha moment in my head.
Sometimes it is, but often the deepest insight is somatic. It's perceptual. It happens in your body. It happens when something that was buried deep in the quiet ground suddenly, maybe just for a flicker, rises up and becomes figu, a sharp, undeniable sensation.
When might that happen?
Often when you least expect it. When your analytical mind is offline, maybe you're just walking or washing dishes or staring out the window and suddenly your breath catches, or your shoulders tense up, or you feel a familiar knot in your stomach, or your hands just don't stop what they were doing.
That physical hit, the sudden tightness in the throat, or the sinking feeling, or that clench in the jaw, that's it. That's the field shifting. That's the silent gestalt showing itself.
That's often exactly what it is. It's the structure making itself momentarily visible, perceptible. And the crucial move here is not to immediately push it away, analyze it, or distract yourself.
Like that.
If you can, just for a moment, allow that shape, that sensation to be there. Don't judge it. Don't try to figure out its life story. Just experience it as pure sensation. What's its texture, its weight, its temperature? Where exactly is it located?
Just be present with the discomfort.
Be present with the sensation. Witness it. Let it become sharp, defined, even if only for a few breaths. And notice what happens. Does it stay rigid? Or, as you simply witness it without fighting it, does it begin to soften? Does it shift? Does it lose some of its structural rigidity?
And that softening, that shift, that's the energy starting to release.
That's the beginning of the thaw. That's the gestalt starting to complete itself finally, just through being witnessed. The frozen energy starts to dissolve back into the flow of the ground, releasing its potential. And the movement that follows. It's not something you decide to do. It emerges naturally as a consequence of that energy becoming available again.
This is so different from our usual programming, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We're taught to fight discomfort, fix problems, push through resistance. This is asking us to turn towards the very thing we've been avoiding or suppressing.
It's quiet work. It can feel vulnerable, even terrifying, because you're meeting the raw energy of your own history. So the actionable step here isn't about summoning more willpower. It's about shifting attention. Gently. Curiously.
How? What's the question to ask?
Ask yourself, and ask not just your thinking mind, but ask your felt sense. Your body asks sincerely, what moment in my life feels suspended, not broken, not failed, just paused? Like that movie Frame, Frozen, mid-scene.
Okay.
And then just notice what arises. Don't hunt for a specific memory or a big story. Just notice the immediate physical sensation that comes up in response to that question. Is it a tightness, a hollowness, a warmth, a coolness? Where is it?
So for example, if I ask that quote, Jen, and I immediately notice my jaw is clenching really hard, I shouldn't then start thinking, oh, I clenched my jaw because of that argument I had last week.
Exactly right. Resist the urge to analyze, to narrate. The clench is the insight. The sensation itself is the silent gestalt making itself figure in that moment. Stay with the physical feeling of the clench. Just witness it. Let it be sharp. And then notice, as you simply acknowledge it, there's the clench. Does it change? Does it soften even slightly? Does your breath maybe drop a little deeper? That tiny bodily shift, that micro release of tension, that is the beginning of movement. That's the structure beginning to unfreeze.
Okay, let's try and synthesize this, because it feels like a really profound shift in understanding. What you're saying is, for anyone listening who feels stuck, you are not trapped by some personal failing. You are, in a way, being actively held.
Yes. Held, preserved perhaps, by the structures of your own awareness, your own history, held by these silent gestalts until you are somehow structurally ready or resourced enough to meet and metabolize the energy they contain.
And once that happens, once that witnessing allows the energy to release, the movement that follows isn't forced.
It's emergent. It arises naturally. It doesn't follow a neat, linear, predetermined plan you map out with your rational mind. It follows presence. It follows where the energy flows once it's liberated.
So the action might feel surprising, effortless even.
Often, yes. Suddenly picking up that phone or starting that difficult conversation doesn't feel like climbing Mount Everest anymore. It feels like the next obvious natural step because it's being powered by authentic, available life energy, not by the friction of shoulds pushing against resistance.
This really makes me think about that philosophical idea, I think it's Kierkegaard, that life has to be lived forwards.
But it can only be understood backwards.
Yes.
And Gestalt seems to provide the missing piece there, the how.
I think it does. It suggests you can't truly live forward with vitality until you've allowed the backward your history, your unfinished business, to become fully present. Not just as a story you tell yourself, but as a lived reality in your body now.
As sensation, as texture, as weight.
As the tension in your shoulders, the hesitation in your voice, the subtle avoidance of certain tasks, that's where the backward lives now. And allowing it to be present, to be witnessed in sensation, that's where the understanding happens, the integration begins, and the path forward opens up.
Okay. So this leads us to a final inquiry, maybe. A way to interact with this protective pause. It involves stopping the fight, stopping the self-criticism.
And instead acknowledging the service that the stagnation, the structure, has been providing, honoring its protective function.
How do we do that? That acknowledgement is really the key that can turn the lock. Find a quiet moment. Turn your attention inward again. And ask not with blame or frustration, but with genuine, deep curiosity. What are you protecting me from?
Asking the stagnation itself, or the feeling.
Asking the felt sense of the blockage, asking that heavy feeling, that knot in your stomach, that invisible wall. What are you protecting me from? And again, don't listen for a verbal answer necessarily. Listen with your body. Let the field respond through sensation.
It might be that tightness again, or the heaviness, or maybe an image comes up like that stone at the bottom of the lake.
Exactly. Whatever arises in your direct sensory experience is the answer. That sensation, that image, that is the guardian. That is the form the protection has taken.
And then the final step. It feels radical because it's about non-action again.
It is. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to heal it on the spot. Don't feel obligated to immediately understand its origins or solve the underlying problem. The crucial first step is simply acknowledgement.
Why?
Recognition.
Just saying it internally.
Silently. Gently. Tenderly, even. You turn towards that sensation, that guardian, and you simply say internally, "Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see you. I recognize the job you've been doing, the protection you've offered. It's okay. You can rest now."
Wow. Giving the structure permission to relax.
Yes. And just feel what happens in your body as you offer that genuine recognition, that gratitude. Does the tightness ease, even a little? Does the chest soften? Does the breath deepen? That subtle shift. That is the first rank of completion. That's the structure responding to being seen, understood, and appreciated rather than fought against. It allows the figure to finally dissolve, making space, structural space, for something new to emerge. #tagoutro. But here's the thing, maybe the slightly haunting truth to leave you with. What we've explored today, peeling back maybe one layer, acknowledging one silent gestalt, one pattern of protection, that's just the beginning.
Just one layer.
The field of our experience, our history, it's deep. It's infinite, really. There are likely other layers, deeper patterns, older, quieter structures waiting beneath that one. Once you genuinely start listening to the silence, start paying attention to these subtle structures and offering recognition, well, the field never stops rearranging itself. It never stops speaking, revealing more.
So the work isn't about getting fixed once and for all. It's about learning to listen differently.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process of attending to what is right now. So the invitation isn't necessarily to force yourself to move, especially if you feel stuck right now. Maybe the real need is to listen to the silence, to the stillness, to the wait.
So instead of asking, okay, what should I do next? What's my action plan?
Ask a different question. Ask, what is asking to be seen right now? What structure, what sensation is gently demanding my attention, not as a problem I need to solve immediately, but simply as a presence needing to be witnessed?
That film of your life. It hasn't ended. It didn't break.
It's just paused, waiting for you to turn towards the frozen frame, acknowledge the structure holding it there, thank it for its service, and allow that frozen energy to gently thaw. And when you do that, movement will follow, inevitably, effortlessly. Not because you pushed, but because you listened and allowed yourself to become structurally free from the inside out.